Hey guys, it's me, Helena, and welcome back to Cosmic Compass. And I want to share with you the power of timing today. Why knowing your timing can really support you in life in preparation for your big moments in life, your important chapters in life. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll often see that I always like to use the phrase catch the wave, ride the wave. Because one thing that I have noticed in my own life is that I really trust myself, my instincts, my intuition. And when I feel like something is coming, I prepare myself for it in advance so that I can really get the maximum advantage and benefit of that time when it comes. And over the years, as I've gotten deeper into astrology, I've been an astrologer for many years, but I started learning astrology when I was in high school, but it wasn't until 2021 that I learned the power of zodiacal releasing, which is my most beloved, favorite, go-to timing technique that I use in all of my client consultations. In fact, zodiacal releasing is the first step. Well, I would say second step, because first I'm looking at the birth chart to understand the natal promise of someone's life and the stories that are baked into the person's life biography. But the second thing that I do is I pull up their zodiacal releasing. And what zodiacal releasing is, it's a list of dates. Kind of like, I like to use the analogy of if you were going to go to the library and go to the biography section of the library and you wanted to read your own book, this is zodiacal releasing. You pick your book off the shelf and you look at the sections, the chapters, the paragraphs, and the sentences and learn about your life story and what the most important times of your life were. If you wanted to read about the most meaningful periods in your life, which are times of increased clarity, life direction, and stepping into your purpose and your calling in life, which is very different from a peak period. Peak periods and meaningful periods are two separate things, just as we have focal points, which are different from peak periods, and supportive and challenging periods may be different from peak periods. There's so many different things that we can look at when we're looking at someone's dates and list of dates in their biography. And this is what zodiacal releasing can show us. I first got really into zodiacal releasing in 2021, and I definitely went through my philosophical crisis of it's basically a moment where my entire life, I've always believed that what you feel, what you think, you create, and the energy you have, the things that happen in your life is just a reflection of your energy. I grew up in a household where my mother was really into law of attraction. There were law of attraction books all over my living room growing up as a teenager. My mom got me into vision boards and The Secret when I was really, really young. And I've always believed in the power of belief and faith in that what you believe creates your reality. And I still do believe this in part. But there's also something about your fate in regards to your timing. And I've made episodes about this in the past on the podcast, so definitely check out my earlier episodes on Cosmic Compass here on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast downloads. There are some amazing episodes on fate and free will and timing that I've shared before on the podcast. But there's something really valuable about trusting in your process and allowing yourself to release and to live life with an open palm. I remember the first time I went into the Akashic Records back in 2018. And one of the first messages and visuals that I got when I was in the Akashic Records was of a fist. And this fist was so tight. And in the Akashic Records, I was told to open and release and relax my fist and to allow my hands to be open to receive. And I remember this visual, this like movie clip that I got in my mind's eye when I was in the Akashic Records for the first time. It's been a symbolic thing throughout my life of letting go of control, letting go of feeling the need like I have to micromanage everything. And that's what astrology has really taught me. Astrology has showed me that it's okay to trust in your process, to surrender and know that you can't get this life wrong. You can't mess this life up. What's for you won't go past you. You are perfectly on time. And astrology shows us this. And it's given me a greater faith in something beyond and magical. something we can't comprehend, divine orchestration that we are part of, that we chose. And I deeply believe that we chose this life. We chose our timing. We chose our birth chart. We chose our natal promise. A little side tangent. I was just talking to my mom on the phone the other day, and she was telling me about the birth process and what it was like, having me. And I was born 5 weeks early. I was supposed to be a late Gemini. And I was 4 pounds, 7 ounces when I was born. And this is very small. This is very small, lightweight baby, the weight that I was. And I remember and my mom told me recently on the phone that the doctors kept telling my mom she really wants to be born right now. Like does not want to wait. And I still had 5 weeks to go. I was supposed to be a late Gemini. I ended up being a Taurus. And in this conversation that I just had with my mom the other day, talking about this with her, I was born during eclipse season. I was born with the sun exactly opposite Pluto, and the moon is at the bending of the nodes exactly. And my soul, just as your soul, wanted to be born at the exact time that you were born. I had a client just this week who has twins, and she was asking me, I induced labor early. Did I mess up their fate? Did I mess up their timing? And I told her, no. The soul will want to come out when the soul desires to come out. The soul chose the chart. My soul decided I am coming out with this chart. My soul was like, we are not waiting till Gemini season. World, we're not waiting. And the doctors were like, wow, like she really wants to come out. She is not waiting. And I was in the NICU for a very long time. My mom was worried that something was going to happen to me. I wasn't with my mom for a while because I came so early. 4 pounds, 7 ounces. Most babies that are birthed are like 9 pounds. Like I was severely underweight. But what's crazy is everything the doctor said that I wouldn't really have like the mental capacity. I wouldn't learn as skillfully or efficiently as my peers would as I grew up. In actuality, I ended up being like straight A's, honor roll student, high achiever, ambitious AF as a young girl. I was a weird kid. If I was born at another time, at the time that I was meant to be born, at the time I was given that I was going to be born, I would not be who I am. I would not have the life I have. I would not have met my husband. None of the things that I have in my life would be here if my soul didn't choose this. My soul chose this just as your soul chose this. Your soul was destined to come at the moment because your soul chose it, and your chart and your timing and your zodiacal releasing dates. And so for anyone who ever like worries about that, you can't get this wrong. You can't get this wrong. And I just want you to know that you're perfectly on time. But this doesn't mean that we can't accelerate our fate. This doesn't mean we can't catch and ride a wave to our maximum benefit and potential. I believe, after years of coming to terms with this, I've been thinking about this for years, the concept of fate versus free will. And I've learned in my own life experiences, my experimentations of traveling around the world and living and testing things, is that it's actually a combination of both. Your life is fated. You chose your birth chart. You chose your timing of your life, and you can see it down to the literal day on a level 4 in your zodiacal releasing, to the transits, the eclipses. We can see exactly the days when things are happening. It's that precise. It's that specific, astrology is. However, I believe that we also have the power, the free will, to decide how much we get to use, how much we get to accelerate and enhance and use a transit. I believe we get to decide how much we're going to take advantage of a potential opening of a date. I believe that we have the full choice to decide, are we going to settle? Are we going to stay small? Are we going to play it safe? Or are we going to go in with courage? Are we going to feel the fear and do it anyway and go out and make it happen for ourselves? I believe we have that power to decide how much we want to gain, to get from an experience in life. So when I see I call them opening dates or closing dates. When I see an opening date or a window of opportunity in my zodiacal releasing, you best believe that in the months and sometimes years, I am preparing for that. I am planning for that. I am doing all the things that I can do in my everyday life. Except sometimes, I can look at the level 4 of the ZR and see when I have a cold or see when I'm feeling low energy or I'm not motivated that day. It's all there in the zodiacal releasing. It's all there. So of course there's days where I'm not going to be, feeling 100%, feeling super excited and motivated, of course. But if we can see that, if we can see when our powerful, motivated, purposeful, aligning, meaningful times of clarity and peak times in life, if we can see when those windows of opportunities are, why don't we use them? Why don't we prepare for them? Let's kind of see dual sides of the coin here. If I see a positive transit for my career, the year before that, I am going to lay the foundation in my business and career so that I have the freedom, the flexibility, and multiple streams of money and income and passive funnels and ways that I can support my livelihood and my family, but also creating more space so that when that career thing happens, I have the freedom and flexibility on my schedule to say yes if an opportunity comes my way. As an example, in 2026, there's going to be an eclipse right on my midheaven with Jupiter in the south node and the eclipse right on the degree of that midheaven. I'm also going to have major things happening in my zodiacal releasing during that same period. I know that when that time comes, I am going to be prepared for it. I'm going to be able to say yes if someone emails me, if an opportunity comes my way, if I get an invitation for something. You can best believe I'll be ready because I've set that year before as the foundation to build my schedule so that I can say yes, so that I can go. This is how I use astrology for positive purposes. Let's also look at the negative. Let's say I see a period in my health and body matters. Let's look at Lot of Fortune in the zodiacal releasing. Lot of Fortune shows us our health and our body and our vitality, what happens to our body. And if I see a period in my Lot of Fortune that looks like it's more challenging for health and body, well, I know that the year before I'm going to be settled somewhere, living in my ideal living situation, my ideal human design environment, perhaps. I know that the year or two before I'm going to have my doctor on speed dial. I'm going to have my dermatologist. I'm going to have my ovarian specialist. I'm going to have my lung specialist. I'm going to have my doctors that I've built a relationship with that I know I can trust in the years before, so that if God forbid, if, knock on wood, God forbid something happens, I am ready. I have done those checks with my doctors. I am on a healthy, holistic, routine with my body, my nutrients. I know the foods that my body does really well with. I know the ones that don't. I've got a stress-free living situation. I've created a lifestyle so that I have less stress in my life, so that if something were to happen during a challenging health and body timing on my zodiacal releasing, I know that I'm going to be okay because I've set the frameworks, the foundation, the preparation. So that if something were to happen, I know I'll be okay with that because I've done my absolute best to make it as smooth and ease-filled of an experience as possible. Now, we don't have crystal balls. We don't know exactly what is going to happen. We can see the themes by utilizing the power of first, zodiacal releasing, and then adding the second layer of transits. And these are the two timing techniques that I use in all of my work, my practice. First, I pull up the birth chart. Step 2 is pull up the zodiacal releasing, look and see where they are in life in terms of their grand life biography, the general worldview, where are they in their life story right now? And then I pull up the transits and the progressions, the secondary progressions, which is a timing technique that essentially, it's kind of like the day for a year timing technique. It's a symbolic timing technique that shows you the cycles of your life. So I'm going to look at if there's anything that has changed, any planets that have gone retrograde, have any planets moved into new zodiac signs, the sun, which happens every 30 years, the moon, which happens every 2.5 years, Venus, Mercury, and Mars. So I use a combination of many timing techniques to understand where someone is and where they're heading. I want to give you an example of how I personally catch the wave in my life, utilizing the power of zodiacal releasing and timing. But before I do just want to let you know that my live timing course, my astrology timing course, the only program that I offer that I share on zodiacal releasing, this is the flagship zodiacal releasing course. Trust your timeline. It's now open. Not only will you get 4 live class calls with me, but there's also dozens of hours of class examples, class call replays, and gorgeously designed slides in my pre-recorded video modules. Plus, there's workbooks and opportunities for you to go deeper in your own practice by seeing the examples in the charts. We go over zodiacal releasing in depth, but also transits and progressions and lunar progressions. If this is something that you want to learn and you want to learn this from me live for the last time for a while, just check out the link in the description down below or in the show notes, and be sure to join by November 1st before doors close. This program is so obsessed and raved over. We have over 500 students that are in this program. And the amazing thing about this course is that once you're in for life. Meaning not only do the modules never expire and you have all the class content and material forever, but you also get invited to all the future live class calls as well. My students love this. My students who have joined early in the beginning or even last year, they are so excited and happy to always be a part of the upcoming live class calls. And I really believe as an astrologer to lead from your heart, to give generously. And this is why the vast majority of my students, they buy so many of my courses because I give so much. And people can really feel when you love what you do, when you're passionate about what you do, and when you really care about your students and you want to help them live incredible lives of ease, joy, flow, and fun, both in their businesses and their astrology practices, which, by the way, this is the timing techniques that zodiacal releasing that all clients are asking and requesting of my readers. So if you don't know this timing technique yet, and you want to get in on this, because everyone is asking their astrologers, probably because they see my videos and they're like, do you know zodiacal releasing? They're like asking their astrologers, can you show me this? And a lot of astrologers don't know how to do this properly and accurately, because it's not just about peak periods. It's also going back to the birth chart and understanding the birth chart and the planets and the angularity and the meaningful periods and the focal points. There's so much to zodiacal releasing. And these live class calls with me, you get that one-on-one hot seat time, you get your questions answered from me, and it's amazing to be part of a live community where you can meet other people, other students who are doing this work as well. This is the special, most magical thing about my course programs is it's live, and there's a community aspect to it. And I just love, one of my favorite things when I hear from students that have taken all of my course, when I hear back from students who've taken so many of my course programs, because again, so many of my students take all or a lot of my courses because I give so much value and time and classes and examples. But one of the things I love to hear from these students of mine is they'll say, I met my dear friends that I love, my astrology kindred spirits. I met them in this class, and they start WhatsApp groups and communities. And it's just amazing to kind of facilitate and bring people together so that they can create their own spaces as well. So if you want to learn how to do this and also be part of this amazing community, the live calls, check out that link down below in the description and the show notes if you'd like to join. Doors close November 1st. Mark it on your calendar so you don't forget, if your intuition feels excited and ready to join this program. All right, so let's get into, some examples of how I catch the wave utilizing zodiacal releasing and astrological timing. I'll give you some examples of how I've used this year. When I notice that I have some supportive transits and peak supportive times in my zodiacal releasing, I use those times. I mark them on my calendar well before they happen. I circle the dates. I put peak period, supportive period, Venus enters my 11th, right? I'm adding in details in my planner, my day planner, which you guys know I love. I love the plum paper planners. I love them. It's my favorite. I'll include a link down below if you want to get my favorite planner. I have a link with a little 10% off discount code if that's something you want. But I write everything down in my plum paper planner. Like, everything's written in terms of really auspicious transits I want to take advantage of and ride the wave, as well as my peak periods that are more supportive for me during that time. And so what I do is I plan my year doing this. I plan my launches doing this. I'm opening up Trust Your Timeline during a peak positive period this month, right? I'm working on another program right now. I'm writing my book. I'm pitching to literary agents right now. I'm using the astrology as a tool to get ahead of my goals and my targets of what I want in my life. This last month, it was a very restful period. And so I took it slow. I was offline more than I usually am. I rested more. I allowed myself to dream more. I allowed myself to read some fiction and play some video games and do something that's not astrology related to rest my brain, right? I utilize astrology to ride my momentum and also to slow down with my life when I see it in the chart. And the thing is, you don't need to know this stuff because your life is going to live in alignment with the zodiacal releasing anyway, whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not, whether you even realize the astrology is happening, it is happening. And it's just a reflection of that which is. But for all of my fellow nerds like me, control freaks like me, and also people who just want to work smarter and not harder and not feel like we're spinning our wheels and working all the time and like hustling it out every day and not getting anywhere and not getting the momentum. It's in the chart, it's in the timing. And so my advice is work smarter, stop working so hard, and instead work hard when the astrology has a window of opportunity for you to take advantage of it. And when it is a more quiet, restful period, allow yourself to surrender and slow down more and know that you can't miss what's going to happen for you. And you can take advantage of what's going to happen for you. And so as an example, I saw earlier this year, Venus going through my 11th house. And I was like, okay, Venus is going through my 11th house in Virgo and Mars is going through Scorpio, my first house. Okay, we're going to work smarter, not harder. And I remember that first day, I started posting all these reels on Instagram. And when I was doing that, I grew over 10,000 followers in the span of a week and a half because I was, one, utilizing my timing. There was a window of opportunity there. Venus, a benefic, brings good things, going through my 11th house of the audience, the fan base, social media following, the reception to your work on social media. When I saw Venus entering my 11th house of those matters and topics, I was like, okay, we're going to focus on Instagram during this transit. And we're going to work smarter, not harder. We're going to pick good electional charts, which is picking a chart that's the most auspicious, that will give you the best results for what you were looking for. We're going to post during really good hours. The moon's good, the ascendant's good. We're getting good charts for this. We're using planetary hours, a couple of different things I use. But we're going to take advantage of Venus in the 11th. We're going to take advantage of Venus in Virgo. And we're going to go for it. And so I put this down on my calendar way before it happened. And when that day started, I was like, let's go. And it worked because not only was there an opening and a window of opportunity that said yes, Venus says yes to things in the 11th house of the audience and fan base, yes, right? But I also was prepared for it mentally, mindset-wise, so that I could go. I was ready to go. I was ready to launch into space. I was ready to go, mindset, physically, preparing some content ideas because I saw what was coming and I took advantage of it. If I were burnt out that week, right? Maybe I had just closed a course and the next day I started doing this, I would be exhausted. I would be burnt out. I would mentally not be alive and awake to make this goal happen. But because I live my life and ride the waves of momentum in my astrology, I get the maximum benefit of that. And so I've done this for so many things in my life. I've done this for launching programs. I've done this for, posting YouTube videos. I remember this happened late last fall. If you guys remember on Instagram, if you remember following when I was posting about this on TikTok and Instagram, but when I saw a foreshadowing period there was a foreshadowing period in my zodiacal releasing on a level 4. And that day, on that foreshadowing period, which is something I teach about in Trust Your Timeline, that foreshadowing period was the first day that I decided intuitively, instinctually, if I am meant to be on TikTok, if I am meant to get a message out on TikTok, then I'm gonna grow this month. I decided that. And I remember I was sitting on the couch, I was just really chilling in my living room, and I said to God, I literally asked God, the universe, I pray every day. I'm not religious, but I'm extremely faithful and spiritual to something magical in life. And so I do use the word God. I don't have any religious trauma around the word God. I think the word God is beautiful, and I use it very generously throughout my everyday life. So for any of you guys that are triggered by that word, I highly recommend just looking at the word and saying, where do I feel shame around this word? This could be a whole episode. But anyway, I opened up a prayer. I said, Dear God, I said, if I'm meant to be on TikTok, if I'm meant to get this message across, please help me get this message to more people. Get me a ton of views, God. I said, if I'm meant to do this, get me a ton of views. And then I shared a video of just me talking on the couch about something. And that video got like 500,000 views. It was like within 24, 48 hours, it had like 200,000 views. And it was in my Zodiacal releasing. And it's crazy because the next period that came up weeks later, this was like a month later or something, I hit a loosing of the bond. And for any of you guys that know a loosing of the bond, if you're in my Trust Your Timeline course already, you know what I'm talking about. But a loosing of the bond is when there's a pivot or change in direction, or like there's something changing. And also that loosing of the bond corresponds with the foreshadowing period. And so I teach this in Trust Your Timeline. It's kind of hard to explain in an audio podcast form, but it essentially takes you back to that period of the foreshadowing period. And there's a thread or a linked theme that's interwoven between the foreshadowing and the loosing of the bond. And so on the day of the loosing of the bond, my growth stopped on TikTok. It just stopped. And so from that period of foreshadowing to loosing of the bond, I was posting every day, twice a day on TikTok. And I grew from like 3,000 followers to 35,000 followers within the span of like 3.5 weeks. When I went back to my Zodiacal releasing and saw this, because I'm an avid journaler, so I write everything down in my planner. I know when things are starting. I know when things are happening in my life because I'm an avid note taker and documenter of my life through journals, planners, taking photos, having things corresponded in my phone for looking back on. And so when I saw that the day I decided, okay, we're going to grow on TikTok was a foreshadowing day on a level 4, and then seeing on the day of the loosing of the bond, the growth stopped and I haven't been able to grow again since then. I just think that's crazy. And it's like I utilized my Zodiacal releasing. What's even wild, if we want to even go further into this, it's like that period was a Pisces period. And a Pisces period is not a peak period for me at all. It's a prep period. No, I'm sorry. It's not a prep period. It's a post. It's a follow through period. And Pisces periods for me, it's my 5th house. In my chart, I have Pisces in the 5th house. The 5th house is all about creative self-expression and going online and talking and creating and making content and expressing yourself in creative, different ways. So the fact that those Pisces periods on my level 4 and my ZR corresponded to that in my chart, just astounding, fascinating. And I've done this for so many things in my life, for my husband and I and our relationship and projects we work on together, to projects I'm working on in my business, to even just health and body matters. Like I got sick. I had a horrible cold for a week and a half, and it started on the day on a level 4 when I had a difficult health period on a level 4. Or the fact that I got a kidney infection and I went to the hospital. It's all there in this Zodiacal releasing in challenging periods in my ZR. Libra and Aries. Those are challenging periods for me. And so I share all this because I love that we have this incredible timing technique that we can use and that's not talked about, and it's underrated. People don't talk about the accuracy of Zodiacal releasing. And I have so many client stories. I have so many examples. And the class call replays in Trust Your Timeline are just so epic and so good. But it's incredible how we have this amazing tool, thanks to Chris Brennan and his work at Project Hindsight and all the resources that we have, opened up with Hellenistic astrology, all the researchers that have, done research on Vedic Valen's works. And it's just incredible that now in this modern age that we live in, we can read this for ourselves. And I'm really passionate about this timing technique because it's underutilized. It's not talked about, and clients want to know about this. This is the timing technique that people want to know about. And so I hope that these examples show you kind of the power of how when we utilize our astrology well and we take advantage of our astrology, we catch the wave, so to speak. When we see cool transits like the benefics, Jupiter or Venus, enter the houses of money, the second house, the house of creativity and self-expression, the fifth house, the house of good fortune, or the house of good spirit, the 11th house, which represents the audience, the fan base, and the social media following, right? Just as some examples here. It's amazing how when we see this good energy, we take it, we use it, we ride it. We don't settle. We don't stay small. We don't play it safe. We use our voice. We lean into courage. And we do the thing. We feel the fear and we do it anyway. So use it. Right now as an example, I have Jupiter going through my 9th, the house of publishing. I'm pitching to literary agents. I have a meeting with a top literary agent this week. I have another literary agent who's like one of the biggest literary agents. Another one who wants to see my book and connect with me. And it's just like, yeah, Jupiter's in my 9th. Of course, this is an opportunity of a window opening here. And when I saw that this was happening, I took advantage of it and I'm going to ride it. But this is how I time my life is I don't allow myself to hustle or stress or effort when the opening is not there. I wait strategically until the opening presents itself and then I go in. I always like to say to be a master of war or a master of a battle, you wait patiently. We can do things in a refined, elegant, and sharp way. Mars in Scorpio, which as I'm recording this right now, Mars is in Scorpio. Of course I'm saying this right now. Mars in Scorpio is strategy. Mars in Scorpio is not working hard, but working smart. Mars in Scorpio is about striking once in the bushes. You are taking notes. You're gathering intel. You're documenting. You're gathering data. And then you strike once. And you strike hard and you strike fast. So that way you win the battle, you win the war. And this is this is so Mars and Scorpio. I can't believe I'm saying this is so Mars and Scorpio. This just channeled through me literally right now as I'm saying this, as I'm recording this podcast, this idea just, it's like universe, Mars is literally channeling through me and sharing this information with you. But this is the benefit of Mars and Scorpio. It's the benefit, it's the advantage, it's the strength of Mars and Scorpio. Mars and Scorpio people, I do not have Mars and Scorpio. I wish I had Mars and Scorpio. Oh my gosh, if I could go back in time and say, hey, Helena, come out when Mars and Scorpio, please, I would. But Mars and Scorpio people, they are brilliant. They are the most successful people I see in the world. Most successful people that I know online, celebrities, people who just get things done, people who are very successful and execute efficiently. Mars and Scorpio. They get things done. They're smart. They go in, they're out. I mean, just look at the heist that happened in Paris. I'm, obviously not supportive of the heist that happened at the Louvre in Paris just recently. But it's like, yeah, Mercury was exactly conjunct with Mars and Scorpio. They literally got in and out within 7 minutes. They stole the jewels very efficiently and were successful. They got away with it in 7 minutes. That is so Mars and Scorpio. And Mercury, thieves, meeting up with Mars and Scorpio. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent at this point. Anyway, I share all this because you can be smart and work with your timing instead of hustling. Don't do the Mars and Aries route. And I say this as a Mars and Aries person. I love being in a Mars and Aries in some ways, but in some ways it's hard because it's kind of like you're just efforting a lot and you're seeing what works. Let's be smarter about that. Mars and Scorpio energy. Use your timing. Know your timing. Know your windows of opportunity and use them. And don't be afraid of your timing either. Maybe that'll be the next episode of this podcast. Don't be afraid of your timing and why you shouldn't be afraid and why the transits are not going to be as bad as you think they will be. So you don't need to fret or worry. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode on Cosmic Compass. I wanted to talk about something a little different this week because, I've been talking about astrocartography for all the time. I'm always talking about astrocartography. The last 2 months, it's been nonstop astrocartography. And I wanted to open up this course and teach this again because it's something that people ask of me all the time is like, when are you going to open up Trust Your Timeline? When are you going to run live classes again? And so the time is now. I just entered a positive peak period in my ZODIACAL releasing. I've got strong astrology right now. Let's open up the doors. Trust Your Timeline is now open. And if you have any suggestions or topics you'd like me to make on the podcast, let me know down below in the comments or send me a message over on Instagram. You can DM me. I'm always listening to your feedback and hearing what episodes you would like to hear on the podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode and it gave you the empowerment and courage to lean into your astrology and use it well. I'll see you in the next episode here on Cosmic Compass, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.